Hey yo, what is up guys, welcome back to the channel, keeping you up to date on all the latest wrestling news, rumors and reports. Some big reports to talk about, the latest in regards to the Fiend Bray Wyatt teasing a return, and some backstage news in regards to his WWE release. Big name revealed to be at SummerSlam and potentially returning, major change coming for a Monday Night Raw superstar, and we're also discussing what went down on this week's Monday Night Raw, which included the return of Randy Orton. For that and more, make sure you guys have those notifications turned on, and if you're new, consider subscribing for WWE 2K22 news and more wrestling news coverage just like this. Following his release early on this month, Bray Wyatt continued to be a hot topic of discussion, and reports continue to run wild on him, so let's go ahead and discuss all the latest. First off, according to Fightful, Bray Wyatt's WWE's hiatus, which we saw him disappear from WWE television following his WrestleMania match against Randy Orton, this hiatus apparently had nothing to do with what was called falsely report mental health issues. It was also added that he is 100% healthy and able to wrestle. Instead, what was really going on was that Bray Wyatt was working to add creative element to his character, and he was supposed to return during the August 9th episode of Monday Night Raw, which happened to be this week. Bray Wyatt had a family engagement scheduled for May and June, but he was recently cleared for a return to the ring. And as we mentioned, this week's Monday Night Raw was supposed to be it, to the point where during the actual show, WWE ended up running multiple commercials in the venue. They even had a promo that featured Mick Foley and Stone Cold Steve Austin talking about how awesome the Fiend character is. This obviously didn't help out, because as soon as Alexa Bliss came out, all we started to hear was "We want Wyatt" chants. So much so that you could hear that WWE needed to pipe in some crowd noises, because it was a very clear "We want Wyatt" chant. A lot of people are now seeing this as WWE teasing a potential return of Bray Wyatt to the WWE, but again, that was probably a production mistake, something that they just didn't bother with, because they run different type of promos and commercials that run in the arena while there's actual television commercials going on. The only return tease that we should be paying attention to, though, it's his own. Bray Wyatt did post it on social media following his release, and he's already teasing something big. He ended up sharing this image, which almost feels like it is an even darker version of the Fiend, with the caption, "You can't kill it." One thing that we do know is that WWE owns the licensing of the Fiend. They own that character for the time being, so whenever Bray Wyatt decides to come back, that Fiend will need to look different. Moving on to the latest in regards to SummerSlam and a potential big name actually showing up at the show. That big name we are talking about is Becky Lynch. New reports from PW Insider indicates that Becky Lynch is slated to be in attendance for the SummerSlam pay-per-view event on Saturday, August 21st in Las Vegas, Nevada at Allegiant Stadium. As of this writing, it is unclear whether she will make an appearance at the event, but she will be there. She will be backstage, and it looks like she will be ready for that return if WWE decides to actually do it. But it should be noted that she has been backstage at recent TV and a pay-per-view event, including the Money in the Bank show last month, but it seems like WWE continued to wait for the right time. Becky Lynch hasn't been seen on WWE television since May of last year, when she announced that she was pregnant. Having her return at SummerSlam will of course be huge, considering that that is going to be this year's biggest pay-per-view for WWE, with even a bigger attendance than this year's WrestleMania. Now the question is, will she return and confront the Raw Women's Champion or the SmackDown Women's Champion? Anything could happen. Personally, just to change it up a bit, I would love to see Becky Lynch show up at the end of the SmackDown Women's Champion of Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair. If we could get a Becky versus Sasha or a Becky versus Bianca feud for the rest of the year, I feel like that's going to be more entertaining than watching Becky Lynch go against Charlotte again, because you know that's what WWE is going to do. There seems to be a bit of a change coming up for a Monday Night Raw superstar. WWE WWE aired a video that appears to be the start of a repackaging of Elias. Elias was shown walking in a field with a guitar in his hand, and at the end of this video, he was shown tossing the guitar into a fire pit. A voice was heard at the end, and it said WWE stood for Walk with Elias, but Elias is dead. This is apparently an attempt to repackage him into a new character. It's unclear what exactly they have in store for him whenever he re-debut, which will likely be next week unless they do another hype-up promo for it. WWE social medias are hyping up what exactly is gonna be next for Elias, so this should be interesting. Elias literally also just lost a feud against Jackson Ryker, who hasn't been on TV, so there is that. Winning a feud in the WWE literally means nothing. To be fair though, Jackson Ryker needs to get repackaged, so make sure you do that too, WWE, because he gotta be the worst babyface that we have ever seen. As for the rest of this week's Monday Night Raw, the show started off with Randy Orton making a return, Matt Riddle coming out being excited to be reunited with his bro, but Randy Orton is like, I work better alone, so you better leave me alone or I'm gonna RKO you. He didn't really say that, but that's what he did at the end of the night. Nonetheless, all of this led into a AJ Styles versus Randy Orton main event for tonight on Monday Night Raw, with Randy Orton not wanting Matt Riddle's help because he works better alone or else he will RKO you. We had Drew McIntyre defeating Baron Corbin because Baron Corbin was hired by Jinder Mahal to take out Drew, as if that worked before. Didn't we just see this 2 months ago with Bobby Lashley? We had Karen Cross defeating Jeff Hardy. Jeff Hardy returned with a massive pop, much like Randy Orton, and at this point I really think that I do not care about Karen Cross on Monday nights, and that's very unfortunate to say. Alexa Bliss defeated Doudrop with a bit of a distraction, a bit of a wink from Lily, who is sitting down by the turnbuckle on the third rope. We had the United States Champion Sheamus defeat Ricochet. Damian Priest defeated John Morrison, and at the end of these two segments, we had Damian Priest challenging Sheamus to a match at SummerSlam. This was a positive in my opinion. I feel like WWE actually booked Damian Priest pretty good this week, like a dominant contender for that United States Championship. We had T-Bar defeating Mustafa Ali. Bobby Lashley proclaimed that Goldberg is done at SummerSlam. Goldberg was of course not on TV this week because he only works twice a month when he's building towards a match. We had the Raw Women's Champion Nikki, almost a superhero, versus Rhea Ripley, ending in a no contest because of course Charlotte Flair came out and attacked both of them. And then for the main event, Randy Orton defeated AJ Styles. Omos was of course a ringside. He tried to get involved in all of this, but Matt Riddle came into play. He tried to help out, ultimately kind of working with a distraction as AJ Styles went for the phenomenal forearm, and of course he got caught in an RKO. Listen AJ, you gotta stop doing that phenomenal forearm to Randy Orton. You know this already. For 3 years you've been getting caught on it. Just let it go. Go for the Styles Clash. Anyways, after the match we had Matt Riddle and Randy Orton celebrating. Randy Orton is not having it because he wants to be by himself, but Matt Riddle is like, give the crowd what they want. They want to see us together. But Randy Orton wasn't really hearing that. He was just hearing RKO. So he RKO'd Matt Riddle out of nowhere. So they're back together, although Randy Orton just destroyed him, but they back together. His expression said everything. So that's what went down on this week's Monday Night Raw and all the latest news. If you guys enjoyed the coverage or found it informative, don't forget to elbow drop it and hit those notifications to continue being up to date. I'll catch you on the next one, so stay savage.